Good morning students, welcome back to my channel, that is Edu Knowledge Hub. This is Soumya Das, Assistant Professor, Department of Pharmaceutics, Bengal School of Technology, Sugandha, Hooghly. And today I have come up with the topic, that is the cleansing aid for hair, which covers the shampoos. In this video, I will be explaining you about the different formulation, techniques, comparison and evaluation of the shampoos. I have picked this topic from the syllabus of M.Pharm Pharmaceutics second semester. The subject is cosmetics and cosmeceuticals. I hope that this video will be helpful for the students who want to know about the different formulation techniques, different types of shampoos and the comparison between the synthetic and the herbal shampoos. So first coming to that, what I expect to teach you or to impart to my students with this video. So these are some of the expected course outcomes which I have listed, and at the end of this video you should be able to relate my video to this different course outcomes. In this video I will be explaining about the introduction of shampoos, types of shampoos, the building blocks, the comparison between synthetic and herbal shampoos, and next is the evaluation of the shampoos. So let us first move to the definition or understand what a shampoo is. Now, if you take the definition of the shampoo, it is a preparation which contains the surfactant in the suitable form. That means it can be a liquid, a solid or a powder one. The main intention why we are using the shampoo is to remove the surface grease, mainly from the scalp and the hair. The surface grease comprises of the dirt, the skin debris or any kind of oily secretion which deposits on the scalp and on the hair. Secondly is, it should not affect your hair. That means it should not have any kind of adverse effect on the hair or in the eyes itself. Now, when you discuss about the ideal characteristics of the shampoo, there are some basic characteristics which every user wants from a shampoo. The first one is, effectively it can remove the dust, soil and excessive amount of the sebum. Now, if you have gone through my previous video, you may be knowing that the sebaceous gland, they secrete a oily secretion that is called as the sebum, and this sebaceous glands they are present near the hair follicles or under the along with the hair follicles, and when they secrete the sebum, this sebum comes to the surface of the skin and it helps in protection. Now, along with the protection, as this sebum is oily in nature, so it attracts lot amount of the dust, debris. Now, when it comes to the point of your scalp, now scalp is always exposed to the outside environment, so that definitely it entertains or it attracts different kind of dust, debris. So the main aim of the shampoo is to remove this kind of the dust, debris and the any kind of deposition which is present on the scalp as well as the hair. Second important point, which is a user centric generally, that shampoo should produce a good quantity of the foam. That means the foamability of the shampoo should be good to give the personal satisfaction to the user, and it should be removed easily by the help of the water. We should not feel it difficult to be removing from the hair. Next is, it should leave your hair non-dry, soft, lustrous, manageable and a minimum flyaway. Now, what is this flyaway? The flyaway means, suppose you are washing the hair with the shampoo, so your hair should not be frizzy. That means it should have some kind of weight, so that it should remain straight. It should not be blown up with the little amount of the air. That is called as the minimum flyaway. Next is, it should impart a good fragrance after washing. Generally, when you put some water on your hair, then due to this keratin or the outermost layer of the hair, there is certain kind of odor which is generated from the hair. So shampoo should be able to protect or to prevent that kind of odor from the hair, so that ultimately it should impart some good perfume to the hair. Next is, it should not cause any kind of side effects or irritation to the eyes also. Now, as you are using the shampoo on the scalp and the hair, so in the process of washing out the shampoo, so there is a risk that the shampoo can enter inside your eyes also. So in that condition, it should be non-irritant and non-toxic to your eyes. And lastly, it should not make the hand rough and chapped. As the process of applying the shampoo is taking in the hand and rubbing it in your palm and applying on the hair, so there should not be any kind of chapped skin noticed after you use the shampoos. Now coming to the different types of shampoos, this is according to the consistency. The first one is the powder, next is the liquid, the lotions, the creams, the jellies, aerosol, and some of kind of the specialized shampoos depending on the use, that is a conditioning shampoo, anti-dandruff shampoo, baby shampoo, and anti-hair fall shampoos. Now the building blocks of the shampoo. Here these building blocks is totally purely for the synthetic shampoos. Now that comprises of the surfactant, conditioning agent, foam builders, viscosity modifiers, sequestering agents, opacifying agents, clarifying agent, perfumes, preservatives, and anti-dandruff agent. Let us discuss these building blocks one by one, and the first one is the surfactant. Now, being the student of pharmacy, we are very acquainted with this word surfactant. Now, if you come to the definition of the surfactant, so these very common definition is there, that these are some of the agents which lowers the surface tension, or you can say they modify the surface tension so that the two surfaces they become miscible. Generally they become the dispersed phase. We cannot say it a miscible one, we can say it becomes dispersed. So the micelle production is there, and when the micelle production is there, we can say that the two phases they intermix with the each other. Now, if you talk about the surfactant, the structure of the surfactant, they contain two parts. One is the hydrophilic part, that is the water loving one. Next is the hydrophobic part, that is the lipid loving one. So, due to this dual nature or dual property of the surfactant, these are the important ingredients where we want one, or where we want the solubilizing or micelle formulation technique. Now there are two different kinds of surfactants, or the you can say the two different uses of surfactants, why we are using them in the shampoos. The first one is the principal surfactant. Now these principal surfactants are used in the shampoo to get the detergency and the foam. That means these are mainly used to perform the micelle, to remove the dust, debris, and to achieve the foam. Next set is the secondary surfactants. These are called as the helping surfactant. That means these will not directly affect the cleanness or the cleansingness or the foam, but they will be helping in building the foam and conditioning your hair, and importantly improving the detergency capacity. Now, if you talk about the surfactants, we have basic classification. Four different classifications are there depending on the nature of the surfactant. The first one is the anionic, next is the non-ionic, third is the cationic, and last one is the ampholytics. Now, when you are talking about the anionic, these anionic are mostly used surfactants in the shampoos because they have the good foaming property. The hydrophilic portion, it carries a negative charge generally, and due to this negative charge they have a good foaming ability, and along with the foaming ability they have a good cleansing activity too. But the issue with this anionic surfactant is that we cannot use high amount of this anionic surfactant because these may sometimes be irritant to your skin. Next, coming to the non-ionic surfactant, these non-ionic surfactant they bear a very good cleansing property, but they don't have a good foaming activity. Next is the cationic surfactant. Now coming to the non-ionic, I have missed a point here. This non-ionic surfactant don't have any kind of charge on their surface. Coming to the cationic surfactant, as the name suggests, they have a positive charge, but these are toxic substances and they don't find their use in the shampoos. If at all they are used in the hair conditioners. And last one are the ampholytics, which have both the positive and the negative charge. They are bit expensive, but they are used in certain specialized shampoos like the baby shampoos. Along with the cleaning activity, they can have a good conditioning activity, so they are used as a secondary surfactant. Now from this classification, it's very clear that the most commonly used surfactants are the anionic and the non-ionic. Anionic is used in a less concentration along with the non-ionic surfactant. In some specialized shampoos, we can use the ampholytics also. Now coming to the structure of the surfactant, as I told, they have two different portions, the hydrophilic portion and the hydrophobic portion. So the hydrophilic one is the head and the hydrophobic portion is the tail. Now here I have given the four figures. You can see here the non-ionic surfactant, here it has a hydrophilic portion, hydrophilic head, which has no charge. Coming to the anionic surfactant, it has a negative charge here. The cationic surfactant has a positive charge here, and the amphoteric one has both the negative and the positive charges. So we can say that the surfactant has a hydrophilic head and the hydrophobic tail. Now these are some of the examples I have quoted here about the anionic surfactants, like the sodium docodecyl benzene sulfonate, lauric acid, stearic acid, triton, lauric monoglyceride, ammonium sulfate, PG, aerosol OT. So these are the different examples of the anionic surfactant. So I will not be describing these things in detail. I will be attaching some links in my at the comment section of the video. You can refer to them to get the list of this anionic surfactant. Like that, we have some examples of the non-ionic surfactants also, like lauric monoethylamide, stearic ethanamide, oleic ethanolamides. Next is the sorbitol esters, like very commonly known as the twins. Amphoteric surfactants use like amino acid derivatives are there, asparagine derivatives are there, amidobutans are there, and mrinalol is there. Now mrinalol, as I told, amphoteric ones are used in the baby shampoos. So mrinalol is an important ingredient of the baby shampoos. Now coming to the other additives, what we can use or what is used in the shampoos, the second one are the conditioning agents. The use of the conditioning agents is to make your hair manageable after the wash. Now when you're using any kind of surfactant, you should be very clear that along with cleaning the scalp and the hair, this surfactant, they may lead to opening of the hair follicles, or they can make your hair rough. So at the end, you have to use the conditioning agent which will be managing your hair or which will be smoothing your hair stands. So different examples of the lanolin, examples of conditioning agents are the lanolin, some mineral oils like your liquid paraffins can be used, some herbal extracts can be used, and some egg derivatives also can be used. Next one are the foam builders. Now foam are produced, now you have to maintain the foam. How you can maintain it? We are using some foam builders like lauryl monoethylamide or sarcosinate so that the foam is stable for a longer period of time. Third ones are the viscosity modifiers. Now when you are using a surfactant, there are some surfactants which tend to liquefy your shampoo, and when you are getting a liquid shampoo, so it is very difficult to use the liquid shampoo because when it is poured from the container, there is a risk of spillage. So it's very important that you use a viscosity modifier to increase the viscosity of the shampoo to prevent from the spillage, or you can say ease of taking out from the container should be there. So there are some different types of viscosity modifiers are there, like your electrolytes are there, natural gums are there, natural gums like caraya gum is there, tragacanth is there, alginate is there, some cellulose derivatives like hydroxyethyl cellulose, methyl cellulose, carboxyvinyl polymers like carbopol 934 which is gelling agent, other things like PVP, polyvinyl pyrrolidone, phosphate esters can also be used. Coming to the sequestering agent, example is the EDTA. Now the use of the sequestering agent is if any kind of complexation is built on your hair by the metals, or you can say the ions present, then this sequestering agent will prevent from the building up of the complexes by chelating. Next is the opacifying agent to make your shampoo look opaque or to make it not transparent. So different kinds of opacifying agents are there, like alkanolamides are there, propylene glycol is there, magnesium, calcium, zinc, salts of stearic acid are there, and last one is the spermaceti. Out of all these things, spermaceti is the most preferred one because it's very good for the hair also. Coming to the next, that is the clarifying agent. Now if there is some agent which is added to the shampoos which do not have a proper solubility or which precipitates out, then we are using some clarifying agents like your solubilizing alcohols like ethanol or isopropanol, but these are used in a very less concentration. Some phosphates can be used, some non-ionic solubilizers can be used like polyethoxylated alcohols and the esters. Some other ingredients like your perfumes, as I told that the shampoo should leave a good fragrance on your hair. So some perfumes like herbal or fruity or floral fragrances can be used. Remember, before using the perfumes, you should be very much clear with the guidelines of the Cosmos or with the regulatory that which perfume should be added in the shampoos. Preservatives like methyl propyl parabens, formaldehyde, these preservatives can also be used. Now some certain kind of other ingredients or specialized ingredients like anti-dandruff agents can be used, like selenium sulfide, zinc pyridine or salicylic acid, which will reduce the occurrence of the dandruff and they can wash the dandruff also. These important ingredients or the anti-dandruff agents are used in some specialized shampoos only. They are not necessary to be added in all the shampoos. Now these are some of the formulations, you can say formula, which I have presented for the powder shampoo, lotion shampoo and the liquid shampoo. These are the cream shampoo, aerosol shampoo and the jelly shampoos. The conditioning shampoo, the two-layer shampoo. Two-layer shampoos means the shampoo will be packed in two different layers. When you shake it, it will be becoming a single layer or single shampoo, then you can use it. And last one is the baby shampoo. Now this is the formula for the herbal shampoo, which has a blend of oils, some ingredients like guar gum. Now this guar gum is used as a viscosity modifier. Green tea extract is used as the antioxidant. Glycerin is the humectant. Hydrolyzed wheat protein to provide nutrition to your hair. Sage leaf, glyceryl oleate, polysorbate is a surfactant. Potassium sorbate, aloe vera extract, which is used to give a smooth hair. Next is the bud rock, which will prevent the drying of the hair. Disodium cocoa glucosides, sulfosinamide, succinate. Now this is a foam booster, preservatives and the water. Now coming to the formulation of the herbal shampoo, now I have referred many articles, but I have selected some of the research journals from where I have selected some of the research publication which states the formulation of the herbal shampoo. Now this is one of the research article which incorporates different kind of herbal ingredients for the formulation of the herbal shampoo, like your soap nut extract, amla extract, shikakai extract, hibiscus, bringraj, senna extract, aloe vera, gelatin, lemon juice and rose oil. By using this different ingredients in certain quantities, they have formulated the shampoo, and the formulation is done by simple mixing method, and different ingredients are used to obtain a very good shampoo. The result of this research paper shows that this shampoo is having a better consistency as compared to the marketed product. Now coming to the second research article which I have taken from the journal taken from the article written by Ree Jacob et al. Now here this shampoo is prepared by taking the fenugreek, hibiscus, henna, lemon, vetiver, the nilamari, velvet flower, ashwagandha, shikakai, karisalkuni, holy basil, that is the tulsi, the amla, the brahmi and the rose extract. Now all these ingredients are taken and the method used is the simple mixing method, and after mixing they have been keeping this thing covered with the aluminum foil in the room temperature so that any kind of bubble entrapment is there, it should be removed. So this article states a very good example, and they have mentioned each and individual ingredients which they have used along with their uses. Like fenugreek they are using for the cleansing and softening activity, hibiscus for the conditioning, henna for coloring and hair growth, lemon for anti-dandruff and natural cleanser. Coming to the shikakai as a detergent, which we can say is a surfactant here. Ashwagandha for increasing the, you can say, the circulation of the scalp. Holy basil like your tulsi for the antimicrobial activity, and rose they have used for the helping in the hair growth. Now if you have gone through my previous videos, I have made a video on the different herbal ingredients used for the hair care. Maximum of the ingredients mentioned here have been discussed in my previous video also. Now coming to the third research article, that is written by the Utane R et al. Which formulates a herbal shampoo by the green method, and they have characterized it. It's very good process they have used. Here they have used different ingredients, like you can see here they have used some herbal extract like amla, rita, shikakai, Nagarmotha, Bringaraj, Brahmi, aloe vera, lemon juice, and some ingredients. Now all these herbal extract they have dried. They have taken the dried form in a beaker. To this they have added the water. They have warmed it so that the herbal extract it starts to boil. Then they have sieved it and they have kept it for the cooling. After that they have got the herbal extract, which is the important part for the making of the shampoo. Now this shampoo is made by the method of the green method. That means that is totally herbal one. There is no any synthetic product used in this shampoo. The pH of the shampoo is also maintained to 6 to 7. Now the fourth one I have taken from the research article written by the Rasul Baziga Khadimitol, and here they have used very minimum amount of the ingredients like GGPS extract, sodium lauryl sulfate, glycerin, EDT and distilled water. This is not a pure herbal shampoo, but they have used the extract of the Z spina, and they have used in different concentration like 5%, 10% and 20% concentration to see the effectiveness of the shampoo. The sodium lauryl sulfate is used as a surfactant here, the glycerin as a humectant and EDT as a chelating agents here. Now coming to the evaluation of the shampoos, you have prepared your shampoos, you got the shampoos also. Now how you can say that whatever you have prepared is having the property or not, or desired property or not. So the first evaluation is the foam and foam stability. Now once you are using the shampoo, how you can say that your shampoo will be having the sufficient degree of foam, or the foam which is produced will be having a sufficient stability. So this can be tested by two methods. The first one is the Ross-Miles foam column test. In this 200 ml of surfactant solution is taken, like your shampoo solution is taken and it is dropped in a glass column containing 50 ml of the same solution. Like 50 ml of the shampoo is there, you take 200 ml of the shampoo and drop it in the 50 ml of the shampoo solution, and you have to see that how much height of foam is generated. This is measured with a specific time interval and it is considered to be proportional to the volume. That means you are adding 10 ml, you see what is the foam height, you add 20 ml, you see what is the foam height. So this is called as the Ross-Miles foam column test. Second one is a Barnett and Powers test. They have developed a lathyrometer to measure the effectiveness of the variables such as the water hardness, type of soil, quantity of soil, foam speed and volume stability. That means lathyrometer is the equipment which will measure the amount of the foam which is produced. Next, coming to the detergency and the cleaning test. Now detergency and the cleaning test is also a test which is determined or designed by the Barnett and Powers. Here they say that 5 gram sample of the soiled human hair is taken. It can be synthetic hair or natural hair. 5 gram of the human hair is taken and it is placed at 35 degree centigrade in 200 cc of water, and to this 1 gram of shampoo is added. The flask is closed and it is shaken for 50 times for generally for the 4 minutes. The hair is washed and again it is seen that what is the weight of the hair, or you can say after filtration what is the weight of the hair. So the amount of the soil which is removed under this condition is calculated, and through this we can determine the detergency, or you can say the cleaning activity of the hair. So third one is the canvas disc sinking test. Now this canvas disc sinking test is mainly seen to see that how much wetting is obtained, or what is the degree of wetting your shampoo can give you. In this, a canvas disc is taken with which has a diameter of 1 inch and it is kept on the surface of the solution. That means shampoo solution is taken, 10% of the shampoo solution. This canvas disc is placed on the shampoo solution and we will see that how much time it is required for the disc to sink down to the bottom. So this is called as the canvas disc sink test. And the third one is the viscosity. I have kept the figure of the viscometer here. We can use the viscometer like Oswald viscometer or cup and bob viscometer. Some rheometers can be used to obtain the viscosity of the shampoos also. Next is the microbial testing. Now it is very important because when you are talking about the herbal shampoos or the synthetic shampoos, we use maximum amount of the water. in case of herbal shampoos we are using some herbs also, so there is a chance of growth of the bacteria or some of the fungi can also grow, so we have to test them for the biological stability. So we can prepare the culture, we can prepare some culture using the soybean casein media. We use the pour plate method technique, and we can use the agar plates also to prepare or to assess this microbial testing. And the next one is the eye irritation test. Now as I told you that your shampoo should not be irritant to your eyes, so you have to perform the eye irritant test on the rabbit. So what you do is you have to drop 0.1 ml of the liquid shampoo in the conjunctival sac of the rabbit, one eye only, the other eye will be for the control. And in the case of the first three animals, the treated eye remains the unwashed. That means you should not wash the eyes, and you have to observe that is there any kind of the irritation which is achieved or it is seen in the eyes, like reddening of the eyes or itching or water sensation, water coming out, water dripping out from the eyes, and it is generally observed for 24 hours, 48 hours and 72 hours. The first three animals you should not wash the eye. The remaining six animals you divide into two equal groups. In the in the second three animals, what you do is you wash the eye with the lukewarm water, okay, and in the last three animals you wash them repeatedly with the lukewarm water. So we have three categories of animals. Like first three animals, they don't have they don't get the washing of the eye. The second three animals, they get washed for one time with the lukewarm water, and the third set of animals, they get washing for repeatedly, like 2 or 3 times by using the lukewarm water. And they have to be observed, all the three set of animals have to be observed for 24 hours, 48 hours and 72 hours. If there is any kind of irritation, then you have to preserve that for the next 7 days. So dear students, this was about the cleansing aid for your hair, that is the shampoos. I hope that by this video I have provided you, or I have educated you about the different types of shampoo, the difference between the synthetic and the herbal ones. If you have any queries or if you have any questions, please drop the mail to these two mail IDs mentioned here. Don't forget to subscribe my channel, that is the Edu Knowledge Hub. I will be coming up with more videos on cosmetics and cosmeceuticals. Till then, have a nice day. Thank you. Bye bye.